Hello friends, this is Michael Canadas with another Gae Gardens report. I am not on the farm, as they say, but I am reporting to you from the Gold Room at the Grovian Doll Museum and the Carmel Doll Shop. When I was a small child, there was a movie that came out, and my mother owned a restaurant that was right next to the movie theater. So my babysitter was the movies. And one of those movies had a song called My Favorite Things. And I think it left an imprint on me that if I am in a bad mood or feeling grumpy or sad, I take stock of my favorite things. Now, sometimes my favorite things are not actually things. There are people and wonderful animals that have been in our life, and I think about them, and it does cheer me up. I also use it as a way to get my long-suffering partner, David Robinson, out of a bad mood when I walk through our house and I point out all of my favorite things, and it drives him nuts. So, working on this project of Gae Gardens, which was filled with antiques and things, I realized as I was looking at those items that they were from another person's life. They weren't our life. They didn't have I didn't have attachment to them. Yes, there are some things that are attached to the house, which we will keep. But I realized I just didn't have the memories of all those wonderful times collecting up items. Now, I have said before in another video, I am a collector. David is a collector. We collect all kinds of things. We make no apologies for that. We do not appreciate the ageism when people say, you gotta stop collecting, you gotta pare down. No, 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 no. I'm going to collect until the very, very end. As long as something that we find delights us and makes us happy. So being very, very practical people, the minute we agreed to buy the Gae Gardens, we went out and we did what we do, shopping, collecting. So the first thing we bought, I will show you. These are things that are all going to ultimately go into, they're here in California now, but they are ultimately going to go back to Virginia. And the first things we bought were this pair of 18th century paintings. And they're probably about circa 1790. And I believe the two paintings are related. They came from the same source. And I would say that we have an older lady. And when I say older, that could be 40 in the 18th century, and a young ingenue. And we think that they're Virginia in origin. And I think this one is very interesting because she's wearing a very fashionable hat of the time. You know, and I love anything with feathers because technically David and myself are feather merchants. So we bought these. They've got some wear, which is fine. They will probably go in one of the halls at Gae Gardens. But the one that really got to me, and I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see, that made me laugh. Normally, a portrait like this, I always look for a beautiful face. But the expression on this portrait, I felt, was so hysterical, as if to say, well, 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 look at Michael and David, what you've gotten yourself into here. So I love his expression. I've texted this to quite a few of our friends, and they're like, what? So he's going to be in the farm in Pride of Place. He's probably not that, even though he's got a powdered wig or his hair is powdered, it could be one or the other. He's very fashionable. I think he's probably about 28 years old. He's not that old. And we can learn a lot just by studying the portrait with the gold embroidery down the front and the the white cuff ruffle. We know that he was wealthy, but maybe in a little tiny pot belly there. But there's also something else going on. He could be frugal, because if you notice, his hand is not painted. It's the old saying, this will cost you an arm and a leg. So maybe he didn't want to pay for the hand. Or he could be a mason, which would be very fitting in that part of the world, because being masons was very important. And then, of course, he's got the classic black bow that all classes wore, whether they were the governor of Virginia or working people. That was a very fashionable thing. So I'm going to put this back into play. So you can see that we really have our priorities on straight, that the first thing we do is buy a oil painting. But my rationale with David is the things that we need to repair the house, they're going to be available. This isn't going to be available when we go next time to shop for it. And I will also point out that it's had a great big sold tag on it. And I think when you're shopping, it's always a good idea to say to the seller, the dealer, hey, if something falls through with that, we'd be interested. And that's what exactly happened. So some of these things we've bought, and some of these things we've already had, but they're overflow of our stuffed house. So the next thing I want to share is I have a passion for Majolica. Majolica can be English, French, German. Mostly what I collect is English and American. And this is the Etruscan pattern, and this is their shells and seaweed and whatnot. I love to buy this, and usually I buy one piece at a time. This is the first time I've ever seen a teapot with a creamer and sugar intact in the original. You can put it together, but these I believe have always been together. And we have many, many more pieces of this to put together to make a set. And this will probably go in, there's a little sitting room, a long skinny sitting room, and this will go there. Now I had a friend of ours who went to the apartment here at the Grovian, and there's a cupboard with upstairs on the third floor with Majolica in it. And she said, this is just perfect. You do not buy any more. Well, I'm sorry, I bought some more. So we have lots of little various plates and things. And what I love about these is the colors. And look at all of that detail that's just in a simple plate. And this plate has been in, good old-fashioned iron ovens, just put in there and used on a daily basis. Now, the next thing I want to show you are these little cuties. And this little group here will probably all go into one of the upper bedrooms that will be designated for our lady friends. So it'll be very feminine, and I think these are French in origin. They're just little wonderful bisque candlesticks. And when you live out in the country, you need to have candles because you don't know when you're going to lose power. And if we're antiquers, we have to think about living in the 19th century. And then this will also go in the same room, and it is a pin cushion, but for hat pins, not for sewing implements. It's for hats. And hat pins, those are not the greatest hat pins. They're just pins, but I will collect up some really wonderful hat pins, so that's another thing for me to look into. And then if you see in the back, there's just a very nice Paris porcelain it's called known as a cottage vase. And that will probably not be on display. That'll go in our storage area for vases. So when we do have flowers, then we use them and then we pull them out. And I kind of like the surprise factor. Now, I love textiles, I love rugs, I love carpets, I love historic costumes. This is not a particularly old Aubusson rug, but it's got great colors and it'll be great in this room. The room has not been determined yet which one it is, but you can see with all the colors, it's got the golds, the greens, etc. So it can go into a lot of places. And as I said, I collect all kinds of things. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about are fans. And this is a mid-19th century, maybe last quarter actually, but a beautiful lace fan with beautiful mother of pearl stays. And you can see it's got a beautiful design work there. But in our home here in California, we have a lot of framed fans, but I have a passion for them. So this is a wonderful de Villeroy box, and this probably originally had a big feather fan. The box is as collectible as the fans. But what I think is so fantastic about fans is they are amazing works of art, and they're affordable. You can, this one's a lithographed fan, but there's a lot of birds. If you really study it, there's peacocks and hummingbirds and all kinds of different birds. And this is actually the front. So you have that very beautiful, almost a Three Musketeer. And you can see the ladies right here with her vizard, which is not a mask to protect her complexion. So you can get a lot of art and history in a fan. And I have a hard time, here's another one with a beautiful stay. And I have a hard time passing them up. So I think a lot of these I will have framed, or they can just go in a cupboard like so. Or if they're on a rotation where you have one out for a week and then put it away and put another one. But I have a really, really hard time resisting the fans. And I don't think David even knows about this stash. Well, he'll find out now if he watches the video. And of course, needlepoint. We have a lot of needlepoint items. I don't personally needlepoint myself, but I appreciate the art form and the creativity. And, you know, those, you know, if you had the right size feet, those could work. And then pretty little textile pieces. These look like slippers, but they're actually wall pockets. And you'd put things like a pocket watch in them and that kind of thing. So the next I want to point out is because of the shapes of the rooms and the fireplaces, these girandoles are a very good fit for the fireplaces. And they don't have to go there. They can go lots of places. But again, you'd put your candle in, and this part here would keep it, if you get a gust of wind, it doesn't get wax all over. But again, I love the motif of, you know, birds and the foliage. I think it's cattails, if I'm not, yeah, cattails. Then this we thought was just such a wonderful find. We collect medallion, which if you can see this little coinage type thing would be in the medallion family. And it's actually in silver plate. It's hard to find. And this is actually a vase. So again, it's not something that we would have out all the time. We would have it out when we had flowers in it, because I always think it's kind of funny when people have vases and no flowers in them. And then, you know, these are fun things to collect. Again, just a simple little candle holder that you put on the wall. And again, when the power goes out, it's nice to have it. And it's a little neoclassic design. So it's kind of in a way timeless. So I want to next show you these Monumental Beauties. And we were shopping in Montecito, the home of Meghan and Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And David spotted these in a shop and he snatched them up. And I said, well, where are you going to put those? And he said, well, in the kitchen over the fireplace. And I thought that that's a fantastic idea because if you look at it, we've got fruits, nuts, flowers, and the brass will lighten up and brighten that. And then if he wanted to, he could put colored candles in it. I'm going to leave that to him because I can only do so much with the kitchen. But they really are hefty. And again, you've got 6 lights. If you followed Gae Gardens, you'll know that the kitchen has some blue doors and blue trim. And we feel that it's got quite a bit of age. We're going to do some scrapings to find out how old it really is. But we are keeping that paint. We're going to try to repair it, clean it. I can hardly wait to clean it. So one of the color schemes is going to be blue and white. So again, this probably had a tureen sitting on it, but it's just a beautiful piece. And I love the imaginativeness of these blue and white pieces. And I also love Flow Blue. And I am very consistent in my taste and what I like. And I love chickens, live chickens. I'd love to have chickens. And this is a bisque hen nesting in a little basket. And we've got quite a few of these at home. And I just think that they have such a wonderful charm. And they're really beautifully painted. Look at the detail of the feathers. I mean, this is really, the molds had to be kept just in top form. And looking at it, I can see it's multiple pieces. And look at the front. It's almost silky. It's just a beautiful chicken. And you can see she's got her little eggs. So I enjoy these things. They're functional. You can use them to put matches or all kinds of goodies. Now, one of the motifs that we love are plaids and tartans. And this I just thought was a wonderful piece of silk work. And, these would come and they would be they'd paint the face on, and then you would go in and you would do the needlepoint. And I think this is fairly early for this type of work, probably the 1840s. And I'm just fascinated by all this French knots. And of course, this needs some curation. The glass is dirty on the inside. The frame has been overpainted. And David's very clever. He'll remove the overpaint, and most likely there'll be very good gold leafing underneath it. The back is kind of rough, but this gives you an idea of how this was done. It was very complicated and a lot of thread there. We'll get this cleaned up. But I think this is a great piece, and I think it would go beautifully in a hall or a little more of a masculine room. And we might go and do tartans. Then I think I'm going to jump over here. One of the things that both David and I love is the movement known as Chinoiserie. And it's very an ancient art form. And what it is once upon a time, Marco Polo went to traveled across the world, and he discovered all these wonderful places, and it created a fantasy world. And if you are following our Grovian Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop, this screen would be familiar to you. But this one's a little special too, because it's got all the monkeys and parrots and a fantasy world. And this has been in this building for a long time. but it's never really had the right place. So this is going to go into one of the bedrooms at Gae Gardens. And I think that this will be the focal point of everything, which leads me to this item. So in the last probably decade, this clock, which is an alabaster Regency clock, most likely English, could possibly be French, but most likely English. It has its workings, which we're having repaired. We found this in an antique store in Virginia, and I was so excited because I think it's one of the best things we've found in a long, long time. And I'm not sure where it will go, but it will go somewhere where I can just look at it and enjoy it. And it is just of high quality, practically Brighton Pavilion quality chinoiserie. But you know, there are lots of other types of chinoiserie, which I think is all enjoyable, and like such as this little pin holder. So you don't realize it's a screen. It works as a screen, but it's actually to hold pins. And it has two of our motifs together, chinoiserie and tartan. So we look forward to going back to the farm soon. And one of the things that we're going to do is we've got to measure rooms. We have some pieces of furniture that we've hung on to for years and years and years with nowhere to put them. We also have, you know, I put my head on my pillow and I start to remembering my favorite things. One thing we have, which I'm looking forward to taking to Virginia and rolling it out, is Chinese export wallpaper that had never ever been used. So we have lots of things to do when we're there. We're going to be measuring each room. We're going to be taking paint samples of all the original paint. And we're looking forward to having years and years and years of fun. So I want to leave you with today, you know, if you're feeling sad, just think of your favorite things. It can pull you out of a dark place. Anyways, doll friends, we'll be back. Jason will be back. Mr. Butler will be back. Well, you haven't met him yet, but he'll be coming along to the next phase of Gae Gardens. Bye-bye, friends. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.